You think you're in control of your own mind. You think every decision you make is yours. But what if I told you that's an illusion? Because the truth is, most of your thoughts, choices, and behaviors have already been influenced before you even realize it. Your brain runs on psychological triggers, hidden mechanisms that dictate how you think, react, and behave. Marketers use them to make you buy things you don't need. Politicians use them to make you believe what they want. Master manipulators use them to make you act against your own interests. And today, you're going to learn how to use these triggers for yourself. How to plant ideas in someone's mind. How to make them say yes without realizing why. How to control people without them ever knowing it. So the question is, do you want to be the one controlled or the one in control? Subscribe now and let's begin. Have you ever made a decision and later wondered why? Why you bought something you didn't need? Why you trusted someone instantly? Why you clicked on something without thinking? That's because your brain isn't as independent as you think. Most of your choices are not made consciously, they're triggered. Your mind runs on automatic responses, invisible psychological shortcuts that dictate how you think and behave. And here's the dangerous part. These triggers are being used against you every single day. Marketers, politicians, master manipulators, they all know exactly how to activate these responses while making you believe it was your choice all along. Ever met someone and felt an instant connection? Like they just get you? That's not fate, it's mirroring. They subtly copy your gestures, tone, and words, triggering your brain to see them as familiar, as safe, as trustworthy. You're more likely to agree with someone who mimics your behavior. You feel closer to someone who laughs and gestures like you do. People who use mirroring techniques can gain your trust in minutes before you even realize what's happening. This is why salespeople, politicians, and manipulators use mirroring to gain influence over you. Have you ever felt pressured to buy something just because it was almost sold out? That's the scarcity effect. When something seems rare, your brain panics. E-commerce websites show only 2 left in stock. Event tickets say, last chance to register. Limited time offers make you act immediately because your mind fears missing out more than it fears making a bad decision. But here's the catch. Most of these messages are completely fake. Companies manufacture scarcity to force you into an emotional decision, and it works. Ever notice how people are more likely to follow the crowd? This is social proof, one of the most powerful psychological triggers. You trust a restaurant with a long line more than an empty one. You assume a product with thousands of reviews must be good. You feel pressure to conform when everyone else seems to agree. And this is why fake reviews, inflated follower counts, and staged popularity are so effective. Because when people believe that everyone else is doing something, they follow along without question. You think you're making decisions, but in reality, your decisions have already been made for you. And that brings us to rule number 1, the Reciprocity Principle, how to make people feel obligated to say yes. Why do you feel obligated to return a favor? Why do you feel guilty when someone does something for you, but you don't do anything back? That's the power of reciprocity, a deep-rooted psychological trigger that forces people to give back when they receive something, even when they don't want to. And if you know how to use it, you can make people feel obligated to say yes every time. From childhood, we are taught that fairness matters. When someone gives, we must give back. When someone helps, we must return the favor. But what if I told you that this natural instinct can be used to control people? The moment someone receives something, no matter how small, they feel a subconscious urge to return it. This response is so powerful that people will act against their own best interests just to balance the scale. You walk through a store and a salesperson hands you a free sample. Now, even if you weren't interested before, you feel like you owe them your attention. And suddenly, you're buying something you never planned to. This isn't kindness, it's strategy. If you want something from someone, don't start by asking, start by giving. Compliment them before making a request. Offer a small favor before asking for a big one. Provide value first, then watch them feel obligated to repay you. You want a favor from a co-worker, offer them a coffee first. You need someone's help? Start by helping them with something small. The trick isn't in giving something big, it's in giving something small, but noticeable, just enough to activate the psychological pressure to return it. Offer helpful advice in a conversation, then later ask for their opinion on something important. Do a small favor first, then follow up with a larger request. Give someone attention and validation, then pull back and watch them seek your approval. A salesperson helps you find something in a store. Even if you didn't want to buy, you now feel obligated to consider it. A friend helps you with something minor. Now, when they ask for help, it feels wrong to say no. Ever wonder why companies give you free trials? It's not generosity, it's a strategy. Once you use a product for free, you feel guilty canceling, so you end up paying for it. Restaurants give free bread, so you feel compelled to order more. Websites offer free ebooks in exchange for your email, so they can sell to you later. One of the most powerful negotiation techniques is using reciprocity against your opponent. Start by asking for something big that you know they'll say no to. Then compromise by asking for something smaller, which was what you wanted all along. They feel like you gave in, so now they feel pressured to agree. You ask for a raise of 15%. Your boss says no. Then you say, okay, how about 10%? Now they feel like they won, so they're more likely to agree. When someone feels like they owe you, they'll do what you want to pay off the debt. The next time you want something, don't ask for it first. Give something small. Create a sense of obligation. Let them feel the weight of your favor. And when the time is right, ask. Because most people won't say no to someone they feel indebted to. And that leads us to rule number 2, the commitment and consistency principle, how to make people follow through on what you want. Once someone commits to something, no matter how small, they feel an unconscious need to stay consistent with that decision. Why? Because the human brain hates contradiction. We want to see ourselves as rational, consistent, and reliable. And if you know how to use this against someone, you can make them follow through on anything, just to avoid contradicting themselves. Have you ever noticed that when someone makes a public statement, they feel pressured to stick to it? That's because once a person takes a stance, their brain works overtime to justify it. If they say, "I always keep my promises," they'll go out of their way to prove it. If they claim, "I'm an honest person," they'll resist doing anything dishonest. If they agree to something small, they're far more likely to agree to something bigger later. And that's where the real manipulation begins. Because once you get someone to commit, even to something tiny, you can lead them anywhere. The key to making people commit to something big is getting them to agree to something small first. Ask for a minor favor before making a bigger request. Get them to verbally confirm something that aligns with what you want. Once they've taken that first step, they'll feel compelled to stay consistent. "Hey, can you help me move a chair?" They say yes. Then you follow up with, "Actually, can you help me move the whole table?" Now they feel bad saying no. This technique is called foot in the door, and it's one of the most powerful persuasion methods ever studied. People will go to extreme lengths to stay true to how they see themselves. Frame your request in a way that aligns with their identity. Make them state their values out loud, so they feel obligated to act accordingly. You're someone who values honesty, right? Now, if they lie to you later, they'll contradict their own words. You like helping people, don't you? Now, when you ask for a favor, they feel trapped, because rejecting it makes them inconsistent. The moment someone labels themselves a certain way, they will do anything to avoid contradicting that label. If you can get someone to make a small commitment early on, you can make them follow through on much bigger decisions. A free consultation makes customers feel obligated to buy something later. Asking someone, "Would you say you're interested in improving your health?" before selling them a gym membership. Get them to agree to an idea first, before you present the real offer. So, we both agree that this partnership would benefit us, right? Now they've committed verbally, making it harder for them to back out later. Once someone commits to an idea, they'll do anything to avoid contradicting themselves. So if you want someone to follow through on something, first, get them to say yes to something small. Then, tie it to their identity. And finally, let their own need for consistency do the rest. Because once someone commits, they'll do everything in their power to stay true to that decision. And that leads us to rule number 3, the scarcity effect. How to make people want something just by making it seem unavailable. What's more exciting? Something you can get anytime, or something you might never get again? The answer is obvious. Because the moment something feels rare, its value skyrockets. This is called the scarcity effect, a psychological trigger that makes people want something more, simply because they fear losing it. And if you learn how to use it, you can make people chase, buy, and commit before they even realize what's happening. The human brain is wired to avoid loss more than it seeks gain. This is called loss aversion, and it's why people panic when they think they might miss out on something valuable. A product that's almost sold out suddenly becomes a must-have. A person who's hard to get instantly becomes more desirable. An opportunity that's about to expire feels like the most important decision ever. And this is where real control begins. Because the moment you make someone believe that time is running out, they stop thinking rationally, they start acting emotionally. The easiest way to create scarcity is to make something appear limited. If people think something is always available, they don't rush to get it. But the moment they think they might lose it forever, they act immediately. Only 2 spots left. This deal expires at midnight. Limited edition. Once it's gone, it's gone. In business, these tactics force urgency. In social settings, they instantly raise your perceived value. I don't usually share this with just anyone. I have a lot going on. I can't always be available. Both of these statements make the other person feel chosen, making your presence more valuable. What happens when people don't know if they'll get another chance? They panic. And that panic makes them act faster than they normally would. I might not be able to offer this deal again. We're considering multiple candidates for this position. I can't guarantee this opportunity will still be here tomorrow. Each of these phrases triggers immediate commitment. A high-status person doesn't chase others for attention. Instead, they create the fear of losing access to them. By being slightly unavailable, slightly unpredictable, they become the prize that others work to win over. The scarcity effect isn't just for business and dating, it works in every aspect of life. Because people always want what they think they can't have. The more available you are, the less valuable you seem. The less available you are, the more people chase you. If you stop giving someone your attention, they crave it more. If you make them think they could lose you, they'll work to keep you. Ever notice how when you pull away from someone, they suddenly start chasing you? That's because the fear of losing you makes them value you more. And this is why people can't let go of what they think they're about to lose. When something becomes rare, people want it more, whether it's a product, a person, or an opportunity. So, if you want to make something more desirable, make it seem like it won't always be available. Because once people think they're about to lose something, they'll do almost anything to keep it. And that brings us to rule number 4, the authority principle, how to make people trust and obey you without question. Why do people follow orders, even when they don't want to? Why do they trust some people without question, but doubt others? The answer is simple: authority. Because in any situation, people instinctively obey those they perceive as powerful. A person in a uniform gets instant respect. A deep, confident voice is listened to more than a hesitant one. A title, a suit, a symbol of expertise, all make people trust without thinking. And if you know how to project authority, you can make people follow, trust, and obey you without ever forcing them to. The human brain is conditioned to follow those it sees as leaders. Since childhood, we've been trained to listen to teachers, doctors, officials, and figures of power. And because of this conditioning, when someone looks, acts, and speaks with authority, most people follow without question. A doctor's advice is rarely questioned. A security guard in uniform can stop you, even if they have no legal authority. A person in a tailored suit is perceived as more competent than someone in casual clothes. It's not about what's true. It's about perception. And perception is what controls people. People respect what they recognize as authority symbols. Titles, uniforms, certifications, even something as simple as a well-dressed appearance can shift how people treat you. Because when you look the part, people assume you are the part. A CEO title makes people listen more than employee. Wearing a well-fitted suit can instantly change how others perceive your intelligence. Using a strong LinkedIn profile with credentials makes people take you seriously before they even meet you. Holding a clipboard or wearing glasses can make you appear more authoritative. A confident walk and firm posture make people assume you're in control. A calm, slow voice commands more attention than someone who speaks too fast or hesitantly. If you dress and act like a leader, people will assume you are one before you even say a word. Confidence equals authority. The moment you sound uncertain, you lose power. Because people trust those who speak as if they know they are right. Remove weak language. Say, "This is the best option," instead of, "I think this might work." Use commanding pauses. A person who takes their time speaking seems more in control. Never end statements with an upward tone. It makes you sound unsure. A hesitant person might be right, but people will follow the one who sounds more certain. The easiest way to make people trust you? Show them that other people already do. Because when people see someone being followed or respected, they assume they must be worth listening to. This is why businesses show top-rated badges. This is why influencers buy fake followers to appear important. This is why people are more likely to hire a consultant who has worked with big names. It's not about what you know, it's about how others perceive you. Mention respected names you're connected to. Show testimonials, ratings, or endorsements. Reference what experts or successful people do so people associate you with authority. If you say, "This is my opinion," people might doubt you. But if you say, "Experts in the field agree on this," suddenly you're credible. People trust symbols of power. Learn to use them to your advantage. In any situation, the one who looks, sounds, and acts like an authority wins. Because people don't follow the person who's right. They follow the person who appears more powerful. So, if you want to control how people perceive you, master authority, use status symbols, speak with certainty, leverage social proof. Because when people see you as an authority, they follow without question. And that brings us to rule number 5, the contrast principle, how to make any choice seem like the best one. How do you make something seem better without changing it at all? Simple. You change what people compare it to. Because here's the truth, people don't judge things in isolation. A $100 steak seems expensive until it's next to a $300 steak. A $50,000 car seems luxurious until you park it next to a $200,000 Rolls-Royce. An average-looking person suddenly seems attractive when they're surrounded by people less attractive than them. This is called the contrast principle, a psychological trick that makes people believe they're choosing, when in reality, you've already decided what they're going to pick. Your brain is wired to compare, not to analyze absolute value. You don't think, "Is this expensive?" You think, "Is this more expensive than the other option?" And once you understand that, you can control how people perceive value just by changing what they compare it to. A $5 coffee feels overpriced until you see a $7 coffee on the menu. A $99 online course seems expensive until you see one priced at $399. A job with a $60,000 salary feels low until you compare it to someone making $40,000. It's not about what something is worth. It's about what people think it's worth, based on what they compare it to. The easiest way to make something look good is to place it next to something that looks worse. When selling a product, always place a more expensive premium option next to it. If you want someone to buy a $50 item, show them a $100 item first. Start with an extreme request that you know they'll reject. Then compromise by offering the option you actually wanted all along. A charity asks for a $500 donation. You say no. Then they ask for $50. Suddenly, that sounds reasonable. But in reality, they always wanted $50. Have you ever noticed how some pricing plans make no sense except for the one they actually want you to pick? That's not a mistake. That's decoy pricing. A company offers 3 pricing options: $10, $50, and $55. The $50 and $55 options are almost identical, except one has a small extra benefit. Now, the $55 option seems like the best deal, even though it was always the one they wanted you to choose. Movie theaters sell a small popcorn for $5, a medium for $8, and a large for $8.50. The large suddenly seems like the best deal because the middle option was just a decoy. People don't pick the best option. They pick the option that looks best compared to the others. The best way to influence someone is to let them think they're making their own decision. But in reality, you've already structured the choices so that only one makes sense. If you want to appear more attractive, surround yourself with people who make you look better by comparison. If you want to be the smartest in the room, place yourself next to people who know less than you. A magician asks, "Do you want me to show you this trick, or do you want to see something even better?" They think they're choosing, but the magician is in control the whole time. The secret to power isn't controlling people directly. It's making them believe they're in control while you set up their choices for them. People don't judge things based on absolute value. They judge based on comparison. Control what they compare, and you control their decision. So the next time you want to influence someone's choice, don't try to change the option. Change what they compare it to. Because when people think they're making a decision, they never realize you already made it for them. And that leads us to the final step, the conclusion: how to master psychological triggers in everyday life. You've just learned 5 of the most powerful psychological triggers, the same triggers that shape your decisions every single day, whether you realize it or not. And now you have a choice. Will you use this knowledge to control, or will you continue to be controlled? Because make no mistake, these principles are being used against you. By marketers, by politicians, by master manipulators. Every ad you see, every sales pitch you hear, every social interaction you experience, someone is always pulling the strings. But now, you know how they do it. And more importantly, you know how to do it yourself. So the real question is, which of these triggers will you apply first? Will you use reciprocity to make people feel obligated to say yes? Will you use commitment and consistency to make them follow through on decisions they can't escape? Will you use scarcity to make anything seem valuable just by making it appear limited? Will you use authority to instantly gain trust and obedience without resistance? Or will you use contrast to control how people make decisions without them even realizing they've been influenced. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding how human psychology works so that you're the one in control of every interaction. Because if you don't use these triggers, someone else will use them on you. Comment below. Let me know which of these strategies you're going to apply first. Tell me, have you ever noticed someone using these triggers on you before? And if you're serious about mastering the psychology of influence, manipulation, and power, subscribe now. Because in the game of power, those who understand psychology rule the world. And those who don't, they follow.